What's up, tree life? Oh. So, episode 87. Oh, finally the hipsters stopped wearing bibs so I can bring my bibs back out. And, I found some of my old, I had made some, fake rings for demo purposes to do demonstrations. And I found them the other day when I was doing some cleaning. So, I've been seeing some stuff, like a very good climber who does a lot of videos, very popular, was using kind of the same, and I've been dealing with him. Lay down now. So, was using the same technique that I explained in the last video where I said the limb hangs out over a structure. There's no space for the limb to be able to drop down any because it will hit, get stuck. So you need to use the butt weight that when it falls off, it actually lifts it and pulls it back to the tree. So that's a super helpful technique if done right. But you can get yourself in kind of a bind if you do the cutting wrong. So that's kind of one of the things I want to discuss, and then we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. You guys kind of run this one anyway. What's up, Ground Pounder? James is here. So, what do I mean? Oh, Jared's here. What's up, man? Billy? Dano's here. Awesome. Awesome. All right, we got quite a few cool cats here. We're ready to go. We're just gonna get right into it. I'm not gonna start with the analytics stuff. Like, it's probably not the most favorite thing for most people anyway. So, we just lost half our viewers. I don't know if they thought we were just gonna talk, but hopefully, if they gave up on us already, they don't come back. And they miss a lot of good info. So, this is what I got set up. It took me a while. Look at that monstrosity. It's ridiculous. So, this is a walnut limb that is very, very, very awkward. As a climber, you find yourself getting these sometimes, and they can be incredibly tricky. So, I'm trying to find the best way to kind of get this all in the camera view. Let's see here. Not quite. Almost there. That's pretty much all of it right there. Right. Can you guys see most of that? You see how crazy the bottom looks? What all I had to fill it with like gravel and all kinds of stuff. But you can see it dog legs incredibly hard. Then it tried to straighten itself, but then it just kept dog legged. So more than likely it had a limb right above it. Oh shoot. That's out of the camera, my bad. More than likely, when it did this, it had a limb up above it, so it was forced to kind of grow this direction, and then these suckers poked up through and became the main part of it. So, I found those little spars are hard to stay in. I did a video of tips and tricks though. Hello there, God. Yeah, and you know what, Ground Pounder, if I'm being honest, I just didn't check it before I started the live video, so I don't have the info. So, that was me trying to justify me not doing it by kind of lying with, like, I don't want to bore you guys. No, I messed up, didn't write it down and stuff before we started this, so totally my fault. But the little ones, the little skinny ones where they get to hard bend and stuff, it seems like it's super easy to climb. But here, with this one, normally you'd probably pick like this right here to tie into. And, you know, it's pretty straight up and down for the most part. But this limb, this large one here, is where you're going to run into some trouble. That's where it's going to be super tricky and really hard to kind of deal with, because that limb right there, the dog legs out, is it's like, it's 2 to 3 times the size of this other one here. If you look at it, here's where all the weight's at. So let me show you the things that I found. You were shut up. Lay down now. Oh, he's a nutcase. See these? So we're gonna set up rigging rings. So let's do something to where, like, I want you guys, see if I can find a better view for this. This is not working. That seems pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty good. See a meathead walk by. Yeah, that's pretty good there. You want a knuckle sandwich? So, let's say you got called for this, and your only real focus is, let's say, the stuff that's going out over the house. And let's say we got a shed here, or garage, right below this, and then house right below this. So you want to remove that large lead, and you want to remove this one. Let's say it's like, for the purposes of what we're going to do, let's say we want to remove that whole thing to there and just have a straight tree after we're done. So remove that and remove this whole stem. But when I said garage, let's say it's like a barn. That way it's tall, really tall. So you don't have space for that to be able to swing under. Where would you set your rigging points? I'm gonna set up some lights, so as soon as it starts to get a little darker, I'll really light this thing up so it's a lot easier to see. So where would you set your rigging? Me? Because I know I'm gonna be doing a lot of rigging on that, probably not setting anything over that direction. Yeah, not setting anything over that direction. I don't think. Actually, yeah. Yeah, I actually am. Just so I can add a bunch of strength. Let's see. My old boss would have said, just climb there and handle it. Yeah, I know. But he doesn't have to get up there. It's always easy for that guy sitting on his ass at the ground to say, oh, just cut that, you know. So where I would set my rigging, because I have some different ones here. Like here's a dual ring setup. So this would probably be my main rigging. So I would probably put it right up here. And this is how I come up with where I'm going to put my rigging. Often I'll start backwards. So picking your rigging spots and your rigging setup from the ground is usually, it's a really good thing to do. So yeah, did you guys get a beep? My bad. So I start backwards. So this is going to be our scariest one here. So I don't want a long swing to happen. It does have to go end over. So I usually set one there. I'll take this other one here. It's really short. I think I may have broke this one or something. I don't know, we'll have to mess with it when I get to it. That's a bummer. Man. So up there, I would imagine, how would I strengthen that? Because that's what I want to do. I want to strengthen this. This rim is going to pull it this way. So I want to strengthen it by going that way. So my second one would be on this second one. Sorry, it's just a single ring. Let's pretend I put like a little bow in the end. I'll wrap twice. And I'll bring you guys over and show you a close-up of the rigging setup after we set the rope in it. So, going from there to there, so I know I've strengthened this, but now I want to keep it aligned with this thing. So, yeah, on my way up, I would probably, let me get my saw. I would probably cut this off. But I would leave that and use it for my rigging setup, like for this. So, this is another single ring. Let me light this thing up. It's getting dark enough. It should help some. Well, I don't know if I can use this one. It's so small. I don't know if I can put a dang loop in it. Shoot, that sucks. How long is this one? Long enough. Okay. So let's just go off of this. So instead of using this single one, what I did is I used a double. And before we start, let me see if I can tie this thing. Because if I can, it's going to help. Because I kind of need this one at one point. Nope. Not going to work. I'll just tie it off is what I'll do. So I'll keep that in my pocket. Alright, let's run the rope through real quick so you can kind of see the route of it. I'm going to try to keep up with comments too. Where's Turtle Man? No one knows. No one will ever know. So, rigging route. I got these little rings at the bottom. We'll just pretend like that's my bollard. I'll show you when I get it over here. But rope goes up through. So that we can stay with the curvature of the tree. We're gonna go through that. Then over to our single ring. There. So if you notice, we've got two sets of rings on one stem, and we've actually strengthened that stem by adding an extra set of rings. This all makes sense as I start to do. Then last, it will go up to our main, up here. So now you you can see the rigging setup. That lit it up, didn't it? Yes, sir. Okay, cool. Um, I'll actually point it right at it here in a minute. Let's see if I can't tell. Is that, oh, that's much better. That's better, right? You can see that better? So, I said I was going to bring you guys real close, but I can't really. Um, the rigging path goes from the base over here up to a set of rings that's right there. Then it goes way over to these rings. Then up to your main one here. It's hard because I got to go with my hands the opposite directions they're supposed to. So what we did is, if we wasn't using that one, we would have been pulling hard on just this stem when we were rigging. We got to be tied into this stem. So the only way to strengthen this stem, because we're about to put a bunch of weight on this side of it, which is going to fold it, bend it, the only way to kind of negate that or strengthen it is to add pull from the other direction. So when the weight drops into it, these two are going to come together instead of this limb folding here, because there's some walled unions you don't want to mess up, you know, and have a union break out because you're putting too much flex on the stem that you're tied into. So most guys are going to always go up and straight up that. But you strengthen it, you know. Now, where I would have to go on this limb, because it's so big, this is the worst rope. It grabs everything. I think I said that last time, but it's only a little rope I have. So, on this thing, we'll go ahead and I almost want, so the thing with this is, you butt tie, you're going to have a less of a swing. Mid tie, more of a swing. Tip tie, much bigger swing. So if you look there, anything past there and basically from that point is negative rigging. It's going to shock load. So we want to kind of come down in that region, right in there, and use that. Okay, so now if you look, how am I going to do this? Alright, let me go over on this side. So if you look now, we're coming up the back side here. We got a set of rings right there. I'm going to take you guys off the charger here in a second, and I can move you real close. But until then, I'm trying to let my phone charge. To a set of rings that's right there. Now, if you would have went from there up, this would not be that strong. You see that little bend that it's got right there. And then it goes up to a set of rings that is right there. Now it goes over to that limb. That limb is pretty big. Goes kind of way up. So I'll just show you this one. I thought I would just use the chance to explain like how you can strengthen your rigging setup. So this limb, not the biggest concern. That's not why I really made the video. I kind of want to show you the like floor dropout technique where you lift the tip by using the butt weight to rip it and pull it back into the tree when you don't have room to go down. So this is just a bit of a bonus, so we'll just kind of do some extra on the rigging. If somebody has a question or something they want to see, let me know. What's up, Dan? Dang, I got behind on comments. John Bob, what's up, buddy? That's something I always wanted to do. I have 7 people with me next. Oh, he's talking about. Okay. No, I'm not jumping. I'm jumping down to the bottom of the comments now. You could, in theory, supercharge one of them root stuff. Okay, so let's get into this. Watch how this limb's able to take this because of the way we set that up. Let's clean it up real quick. You can see things a bit better. Okay. Alright, so now we don't have all the other stuff in the way. You can see our limbs much better. Go ahead and go about right there. Now watch the way this responds when I drop that weight into it. Slow everything up a little bit. Let's see if I can add a little more light real quick. I can plug this in. It should give us some more light. I don't know if it did or not. Doesn't really seem like it, but whatever. I don't want to get behind. I don't want to get behind on comments, but here we go. I'll cut from this side so I'm not in the light. Alright, here we go. So, normally, if you look at the comparison, the limb you're removing is twice the size of the limb you just rigged it off of. But with the right rigging setup, this can handle it. So, we let that thing lower down, and then we go over to the stuff that's going to be kind of fun to do, trickier. It lowers down, yada yada yada. Okay, so now with this stuff, this is the stuff I really wanted to kind of discuss. Be totally in the light here, but come on. Okay, so now we would take our rope, come over here. Here's where I'm totally in the light. Like this limb here, it just totally kind of dog legs out completely, totally flat, curls back. You can't, let's say you don't have the room to let this thing fold down like you normally would. So here's what I would do. I would take and I would tie out towards the tip. I don't want to go all the way like a tip tie, but I want to go pretty close to that. I want to make sure that the base is where the majority, at least 2/3 of the weight is going to be in the base, so it for sure controls it. So if we want halfway, let's just kind of say, if we want halfway, let's do this. And we tried. That thing is gonna drop down. Your rigging point is way up here, so it's like it's almost parallel. So that's not really gonna work. You can't really do that. So if that can't drop down, and let's say the structure's right here, it just can't. Halfway, you don't know which way it's gonna go. Is the tip's gonna go down, or is the butt gonna go down? You don't know where the majority of the weight is. That's an issue. You would think mid-tying would be the technique, because you want stationary, because a lot of times when you mid-tie, that's what you get is stationary. But you want, like, even spider legging, it's that stuff isn't going to work in this like specific situation, because you are almost parallel, like looking across at your rigging point. So it has, gravity's going to push it down. It's got to drop into it, and you don't have the space to let it lower any. It is guaranteed it's going to drop if you're using a spider leg or something, because then you're going to have a hold of it like here and here, and it's going to be almost completely parallel. You got such a long swing to go that, something, it's for sure gonna hang up. So I would take, and I want to go out here on the tip. Okay. So the reason I want to go out there is because there's no room right below this thing. So your best angle to be able to see this is not going to be from there. I don't know how to unplug all this. Give me just a second, so you guys can actually see stuff. That's funny, it just like dropped down because the extension cord was actually holding my phone thing up in the air. Alright, now I got you guys. So, there you get a much better look at it, of like where the rigging, how the rigging's set up. So, put my charger over here. So, like I was saying, you have something right here, and you can't let it drop down. So, the whole idea here is to put enough weight past this so that it technically picks this thing up, stands it up, and lets the butt weight drop out. So you just use a little bit of like thinking ahead. If this limb is being held from here, it gets cut off, and you can't let it swing. That's the thing. You can't just put a notch and let it swing around and stuff. I mean, I guess you could, but some cases you can't. Like the one that was just in, there's one coming up in a video to where like this is almost touching a house, and then right here is the second story. Dude, stop. And right here is like the second story. So if you swung it, you're gonna smack into windows and stuff. So what I'm gonna want to do is I want to cut this off. There's another limb going that way, and this butt weight I want to drop into the system, which should take the rest of it and stand it up and miss the structure here. The butt weight is going to drop into here. So if I notch, all this back weight isn't going to just let it do this pretty little swing like you would want. So that's not going to work. I don't know if you can really see that other limb. Now you probably can. Nope, you still can't. But there's another lead right here that goes off and out this way. We're going to take it with it. So by cutting off here and dropping all this butt weight, it'll make this limb stand up, and this weight will drop down. So you would want to cut there, but we got to think of where's the limb, which direction is it going. I would want to cut I would want to cut from the backside because the limb is going this way. Your rigging point's right here. It's going to drop down and come in here. I wouldn't want to put a notch because then it's hinging. All this back weight is going to stop the swing that you want to happen, and it's just not going to work like you think it should. I mean, I guess you could take it in like a couple different pieces. Let's see that angle. That shows that much better. Yeah, so here, this is the one we're hooked up to. Now you can see this. Ooh, shoot, no, I'm in light. Now you can see all this that's coming off of that limb. So, want to cut there, no notch. Or we could use it, let's do this. Let's do two different, do it twice. And I won't put as much weight into it. I'll swing one first. And this is how I see people using this technique is by swinging it, which it usually doesn't work right. And then I'll show you what I prefer to use when I'm doing it. So, alright, we're tied up. What we're doing is, yeah, okay, that shows it all. Put this limb here. Where's my light again? Dang it. This limb here goes all the way down, all the way to there, back to this unit. So, if I tried to swing it, I guess I could show you that one time. No, I'm just going to show you. I would want to fast cut this. And to fast cut this here, you see that? Is that in there? Yeah, it is. This one here, I would go from the top, I would start cutting, then I would work my saw up under and push and like show you back. This is the way I fast cut and why I kind of have success with the fast cut. I think a lot of people do it in the wrong way and it doesn't work for them. So you would think fast cut it from the top. It's going to start to peel. It's going to start to move before you're ready. So I start on the top so that I can shorten it so it's not as much of a cut. Then I jump to the side and I start to work my way in and I finish off at an angle, like the direction that I want the limb to go. So your saw's almost, you're going cut, point. And you kind of shoot it out the direction you want. If you just cut from the top, the tip is going to start to go crunch, and go over way before you get it cut. And it's not, the fast cut, it's not even going to work. You're just going to sliver cut everything. So I undercut salami cuts on. See, I don't. If I'm, see, that's why I think a lot of people use it maybe the wrong way, especially when they're rigging. Because if a salami cut's done right, it doesn't matter how the limb is, it changes whichever direction that limb's going or leaning, what angle it's at. The salami cut is going to have to be done at a total different angle every single time. No two limbs are going to be the exact same, unless they're straight up and down. And then the salami cut, you would be like that, which should, when you want it to come off this way, or like that if you want it to come off this way. So I'm going to start cutting. This thing's very dull, but we'll see if it does the job. You should be able to see all of this. Yeah, that gets that limb in there pretty good. See if it works. So did you see that? When I started to cut, I went from the top. I'll do it like here. Cut, then I went in and out. down. The only reason I'm going from the top down is because the cut's like this big around originally, and I want to make it like I'm having to cut something that depth, a depth of like that. Well, if I start some of the top, I get it down to a depth of that, which is much easier and quicker for the saw when you go to finish it. So, if you notice there, I'll put the gun back on. And then it was blowed out like that. So I started my cut, and I went under, and then flicked it out the way it was going to go. That's what dropped it up and under. Does that make sense? Um, I mean, to me it makes sense, but I just feel like most people in that situation right there would have, if they were going to fast cut this same limb. I feel like 99% of people, you see how I started at the top? They're just going to start cutting from the top and they're going to finish that way. The way it works, and the reason I think it works for me so often, is because I've started to cut, then I jump to the side. The reason I'm jumping to the side is I'm making that very skinny along there. I cut, and then I'm making it skinny to finish on. I want to finish, okay, if this thing is being held, the least amount of tension is basically on these sides. The most is up under because of gravity pulling and all the weight. So when you're holding the limb, the side of it has the least amount of tension. It's least likely to peel. Like if you make a cut from the side, how often do you get a peel? You don't, because gravity's working in your favor. The limb's like this, so when you cut like this, you get a straight cut. It drops down. If you cut that same limb from the top down, it'll peel. You'll get a peel. Then you need to make undercuts to stop that from happening. Does that make sense? Probably not. Probably just rambling. James, it does? Cool, cool, cool. Cool, awesome. A peel cut is awesome though, ground pounder. I use peel cuts all the time. That would have worked with a peel cut if you could add, like if a guy could keep pulling and almost you get the limb to start moving and he starts to, let's see if I can actually kind of do this, see if it makes sense. So if a guy was doing that and he just wanted to make just a peel cut, which, like I said in I think one of my last videos, one of the most important things I do on any tree is on the way up, I cut some branches and see how they're going to respond. I'm not doing snap cuts or hinging. I am doing peel cuts. I want to see how that limb peels. How good does it hold on? So you could, in theory, because this is parallel, you start to cut and you want to peel it this way. The reason you don't want to peel it that way is because you know how it is. It'll barber chair, whatever, but you could do it from the side, and a guy could just add tension here. So as the limb's coming around, it's not dropping, because if you're not taking in rope, all this rope right here, the closer it gets to this point, it's got to drop to keep that rope straight and tight. So if you're able to pull into it, you could peel cut that and it would work great. So I think a lot of people often don't have that. If you don't have a quarter wrap, you can use a rim to a truck or another tree or whatever, but I don't have the ability a lot of times to put a bunch of tension into the system. A GRCS right there would crank that thing around. You could even maybe use a notch and pick it up and bring it over. But this is for the people that don't have that stuff. So probably didn't pick the best spot to do this. I should have done it inside where it's all lit up in my shed. But whatever. So now this is where, let's say we do this one. Same thing. It doesn't have room to do anything, so you're gonna have to make sure it doesn't drop down. So the only issue with this one is that all this here, is that better? You actually see it? Yeah, you can see it much better. So all of this, you still have a structure here and it can't go down. So with this one, it's not as high. I would even say you could maybe get away with putting a notch, and if the structure isn't as high the further it gets this way, it's gonna eventually start to drop. But for a while there, you could get like a notch here and swing that thing probably. So, or peel cut from the back and then work your way around. It's just then it's kind of unpredictable when it's gonna let go, and you want to know when it's gonna let go from the cut, because if you don't, the guy's not ready for it to jump and fall into the system. It can come loose too soon, hit the structure it's below. So that's the kind of things that you're trying to watch out for. And the reason I usually don't use that, undercut, pinch, boom, straight down, no video or chance of one. Okay, undercut. Yeah, I get that, but I'm looking. Okay, if you just let a limb fall over, I don't even know how to explain that. It's like a person jumping onto a swing, like a rope swing. If you can control that, you can put that exactly where you want. So like making a proper fast cut here, nothing has to break loose. There's no snap cut that needs to break loose. There's no hinge that needs to give. There's no peel that needs to give. It is instantaneous, just boom, and it's in the system. The only way I could get this to lift, technically, and not go down any, is for this butt weight to do the work that I want to pull it that way. So, on this one, I would come in like that, on the back of this. And I would, because I want my limb to go this way, I would shoot it this way. That's just that's a wild setup because of that crazy dog leg it's got in it. And the other thing is, you have a rigging ring that's right here that you have set up that you can't hit either. So you're gonna have to go right above it and see if you can get that thing to not drop any, but go into the system. So it's a pretty good view for you guys. Let's see if that same technique works. And anybody that's done pre-work for any period of time has gotten stuck doing fast cuts. They've got their saw pinched. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way you want it to. But I realized that for years I was doing it wrong and didn't even realize, because I just thought that all of them would be similar. But gravity and the angle of that limb and where the weight placement's at changes everything on every single limb. So okay, so what I say, I want to come in from back here and I want to go out that way. This is going to be weird to do. So down and flick out. It kind of hung up, but the structure, if it was there, it's kind of this one limb. But see, I think most guys on that limb would have back cut this way. But you're going to get movement. It's going to start to move if you're cutting from the backside, because the weight wants it to go. Gravity is going to pull it. It's going to start to peel. If you're doing a fast cut, you don't want, a lot of times, sometimes you want to use that in your advantage. You would want to go from back there. So say you got a limb that you want to start committing a little bit and not just cut it so that it falls down on your head. You want it to start moving a little bit. So I would start to cut from the back on the lean and start to let the limb start to move, and then I would, boom, finish my cut. That's so that I can get that limb away from me. But yeah, I mean, I'm not speaking for anybody else. I just know personally, I've done this my entire life, and I, for years and years, was doing, I would, like, on the regular, I would make a salami cut wrong, and I'm like, okay, I guess salami cuts, it just only works in certain scenarios. It's not a cut for everything. Um, but also, I think a big thing to it is going to be having a saw that has the horsepower to make that cut. A lot of saws, and probably most saws, don't have the horsepower to make a cut like that as quick as you need to get it to come off clean. So I feel like the reason that I started to rethink it is the way I would start salami cutting down a stem or a trunk. I'm like, if I can do one that's standing and get it to move and go the direction that I want, why can't I get those ones that are like horizontal? That doesn't make any sense. Why do I get pinched? Why do I peel out? That doesn't make... So I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, gravity's changing everything. The only reason that it works when you're on a straight stem and you make a salami cut is because you give it an escape route, a spot to slide. The only reason it slides is because of gravity. Gravity says, okay, and it goes down the little slide cut that you made. If I'm doing a stem like this, I'm cutting from the side, from over here, and I would cut in, and then at the end, I would, so that I'm not finishing a cut like this all the way, I would go in a little bit, and then turn it, and then like point my saw out so that the chain spinning will give it a little bit of go. It like, it almost gives it a little assistance, kind of shoves it off. So if you don't use a saw every day, this probably sounds like gibberish. But for those that do, you know what I'm talking about. So now you get to this part. I'm gonna finish this and I'm gonna go in the shed and just chit chat with you guys. I would take that ring off. You know what? I should have left it. Okay, let's do this. This ought to be fun. So you have a setup like this, but now you need to take this part. What would you do? Like, you don't have to take that out, technically. I'll show you what. And this is probably what I would have done if I was actually doing this on a site. So here's your exit in, the rigging in. Still goes up through these two rings, over to this ring, back to these two. How is it out of... Oh, I only put it through one ring. So what you could do is just span rig this thing by taking your rope as the climber, instead of going all the way up, taking that out, taking it out of that, then climbing back up, and then putting it back into this. You just take the end and anchor it to your stem. Because this is the last limb that you have to rig, is this section and that stem. So your ground guy would tighten up. So this thing will have a little bit of weight to it. Alright. So, okay. So let me kind of explain how this is set up. We had our rigging here up to this point because that's the only way we could strengthen that stem that we were tied into and that we were rigging off of, is by redirecting back to counter that swing where it was pushing it that way. So now all we've done is the rope comes up through those two rings right there, over to this ring, back up to those two. Instead of taking that out and doing all that, we were just gonna anchor the end. Now this is gonna come off and it's gonna span this straight down. So the only thing is you need quite a bit of butt weight because you don't have it tied out on a tip like you normally would. But instead of having to do all that crazy amount of climbing, you can just span rig to get the middle ring out. Since my rope's right on that, I'm probably just going to do a snap cut. Oh, and I'm about out of battery too. Oh, come on. Stupid. You're not serious. It is serious. That's so stupid. So damn aggravating. So, I use a big ass handsaw, which isn't going to work at all. So this is going to save you quite a bit of time as the climber. So that's the only reason we're really doing this one. But we don't want this tip that goes way out here to hit our structures that's right here. So we drop a bunch of weight into it. Your 2 points are here and here that's going to come off of. So it's going to go to a point in between them two. So I would say this should be somewhere right here when it comes off and settles. Wonder why I stopped using this handsaw, because it has the gnarliest bend in it. Okay, so I'm just going to let go of it. Let's see what it does. It went the wrong way. But yeah, somewhere there in the middle is where it would go. And you're rigging off of a span instead of just rigging off the single. That's usually a lot of times when I use span rigging randomly. Sometimes it works for the tree that I'm doing when you don't have a very good precise drop zone to be able to lower down. So you'll use span rigging to like get the between 2 points. But a lot of times when I'm using span rigging, it's because I've set my rings up and I don't want to have to climb all the way back up to get them and retrieve them. So in a lot of scenarios, you can span rig it instead of having to go all the way back up, and you'll save yourself a bunch of time. As a climber, it's nice. So, you know, that comes off and it's in that span right there, off those 2 points. So, probably not. I wish I would have done it somewhere that was better lit so that I could explain things a little better. But I can't. It's over. It's done. I'm done. So what we'll do is sit here and chit chat for a minute, and then we'll call it a night. Get some light. Go on. Okay, now we got all kinds of light in here. Grab my coffee. Then I'll just chit chat with you guys. Oh, I still have that light on out there. Let me go shut it off. Okay, my bad. Okay, so how's everybody's week been? Let's finish this up with how we normally start them. Tree W, what's up? Yeah, salami cut and fast cut, like, those are the same thing in my opinion. Sometimes you don't use it at an angle, so in that scenario I would call it a fast cut. And if I'm using it at an angle so it works as a slide, I would call it a salami cut. So a lot of times when I'm doing that technique, it's a fast cut. When I'm on a stem, a lot of times it becomes the salami cut. But peel cut, man, it's probably I use it more than anything, you know. But it just depends. There's those times where it just doesn't work like the way you need. I don't know. It just certain trees just let go way too quick, peel out. Like you get a catalpa or like a tulip poplar, they just don't hold, and they peel and break and rip off. And a lot of times you can start making that cut and end up with a barber chair that grabs a hold of your lanyard and guts you. And so there's just a lot of reasons I don't depend on the peel cut. I use it a lot, but I want to know all my other cuts deeply, like totally understand them, because it's just so many times it's saved me. Like after I figured out what I was doing wrong with fast cuts and peel cuts, or fast cuts and salami cuts, it was a game changer. I was doing so much tip rigging that like there's videos that I've put out that's like hillbilly crane, because I was basically, we were like stationary rigging massive limbs because I started to understand how I could manipulate gravity and make it work in my favor to do the fast cut and stuff. So it's just, if there's anybody out there that's just kind of getting into this, they got a few years in or even multiple years, like this is something I've just started to really figure out, I feel like, and totally understand. And I've done this my whole life. I'm 40 years old. So like, it don't feel like you need to know everything right from the get-go. You're not gonna. No one does. At 40, I'm learning. So it just kind of depends on if you want to learn. If you don't want to learn, you won't learn. The same way with school. Nobody calls me for little trees. Yeah, same way. I think the long guys a lot of times will take the smaller trees. They don't really do tree work, but when you see an easy tree job like that, a small tree, they're like, "Yep, yeah, we do trees. I got a chainsaw." And because they have a saw, so they can cut things that are like in their face when they're cutting or mowing, um, they're like, "I got a chainsaw, I can do it." So you know, it is what it is. Makes them a good ocean cordage placement, and a border wrap serves as a four-man GRCS. Yeah, actually, I had a setup, and I ended up, I was gonna do a video on it. I had like a setup for a tree jack with the maze dam, and I had it. It was pretty sweet. What I did was I ran the maze dam and anchored it to the base of the tree. I had my normal bollard around the tree. See the trees here. Normal bollard set up here around it. Then right below it, I anchored the maze dam. Now in the maze dam, there was like 15, maybe 20 foot of rope that had a clip on the end and a knot on the other end. So we would take that 20 foot and extend it up to a prusik hand center, and that's how we were lifting. We would go that 20 foot, and I would back that 20 foot thing back out, and we would clip it, extend it up to pretension, to do whatever, and it works. It's just very time consuming. It's not really effective as far as being efficient, but it gets the job done. I just I think something happened that day, and I was having camera issues. The batteries didn't charge, so I don't know. Something. Lucky to have guys that can use a mini for the lift with a port. Yeah, that's sweet. That's pretty cool. I like that. We were using the loader the other day, Dan. It was, yeah, that's hey, that works like a charm. Those things are sweet. I see, even just to pull trees over, or as a tagline rope, like those things they're grounded. They have a good kind of footprint, so they're not tippy. This just works perfect sometimes. I don't like fuel cuts because of the unpredictability. I also tend to do more pruning these days. And when I do removals, I use that as time to practice pruning cuts. I'm paid by the. Hey, that. You don't gotta say anything to me, brother. This is not a job that the fastest is the best, in my opinion. Like, it's great to be efficient, but fast is not. I mean, so you can climb up there fast. Like, well, okay, if you had a choice and you had a guy who uses a top handle and knows his cuts so good, he has mastered everything with a chainsaw, his rigging, everything, but he is slow as a snail when he's up in the tree. Or you get a guy who is fast. He is all over that tree like a spider monkey. You lose track of him. He's so quick in the tree. But doesn't know anything about really with chainsaw. He can start it and he can cut. Which guy do you want on a job where you're over someone's house? You know, I think that's why a lot of times when it comes to tree work, a lot of aspects of the job are paid by a daily wage, like what they would need for that day, as opposed to hourly, because you have a job to get done. As long as you get that done, if it takes you 8 hours, cool. If you can get it done in 7 because you're very efficient, it's even cooler. But you still did that task. You could always do it slower and more methodical and milk the hours. That's where it's going to change. I would that's what I would do if I was hourly. I would be very slow, methodical, and wouldn't allow myself to ever make a mistake because I have time to sit there and think. Efficiency isn't priority. Production is. An injury stops production and stops income. So, rant over, but yeah. Oh, James, see you, buddy. Have a good one. Am I way behind on comment? Oh my god, yeah, I am. Yeah, the butt weight in them scenarios is always going to work, but like, that's why I'm telling you about finishing with the saw. Um, and using the shield or the tree as a shield. Like, if I'm making that cut, I am on the opposite side that I am anticipating it going. So I'm making that cut from back there, and I'm finishing. Like, if I want it to go that way, I'm fast cutting in. Then I go over, boom. The only reason I don't know if that really makes sense when I say here. I can just show you on a piece of paper. It's not. I got a marker. Let's just do this. Ah. Let me turn you guys away so that's not upside down. We have a limb that goes out like that. Okay? Okay, that's a limb. you had a structure here. So if I want to tip tie on this limb, hang on, let me show you. So if I want to tip tie on this limb, like somewhere in here, and cut the base of it here, it's going to drop down and these tips are going to come in. So to make this fast cut, because if say the tree is goes up there, so there, wow, that light is so bright. So there it is. Gravity is pushing down on this. If I did my back or my fast cut just from the top, it is gonna peel out right here. Before I make it to there, it's gonna start to barber chair, peel out, and it's gonna put a huge scar down this tree. So you don't always have to make an undercut. Undercut is a backup plan and will guarantee that you don't usually end up with the sliver. Great idea to use, but sometimes it just I see you start to get so quick with it when you do it the other like with the fast cuts that I just don't feel like I need it. So to do a fast cut, oh, if I was fast cutting this, you have your here's the inside of the piece of wood. Okay, this is there's down, so this would be towards the ground. This towards the sky, house below us. Okay, now I would start my cut. It's like a 3-step thing. I would start my cut. First step would be right here, and I would make my way into somewhere in there, like a third at least. Maybe even sometimes I wouldn't go halfway because I don't want to start to barber chair or anything. So I would start my cut and I would come in here and I'd make it to about right there. So instead of finishing out here and ending up with it barber chairing or slivering, here's where my saw, instead of while it starts cutting in like this, I will turn it right here and then make the cut this way and finish not out directly out the side, but like not directly down. I'm finishing out like there. If that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. So I'm starting my cut here, and if I want that limb to go that direction, like say I'm on this side of the tree and I want it to go around to the other side, I would want that tree to swing this way, or that limb to swing this way. So I would come in right here. I'm coming in, boom, I'm 1/3 already. Then I would take my bar as it comes in right there, and then I would start to go under. So what I'm doing then is I'm coming like right here. Now you see what I mean? Now I've got much less of a cut to finish. If I have to finish a cut that's that long or that wide, it's going to peel. It's going to have issues. There's so much wood there to keep a hold. It's easier to finish on a smaller section of wood. So as my fast cut comes down, then I go there, then I go side. Like I'm cutting the whole time. And then I lean, go to the under, and then I go like this, and then I finish out the side. So if I try to finish out that way, I could get pinched because I'm going to have it moving that way. So I want to finish out this way and like point the saw out that way. So down, over, push out like that. So you're going into it. You lean over, you start to go here, and then you start to move like this, and then the tip pushes out. So as you're working this part, then you get over to here, then you get into there, then you get into there. Now all you gotta do is finish this little section of wood right here that you kind of go flick it out. So then you start to go here and boom. out that way. If you was to start and just make your top cut, it's gonna start peeling somewhere in that region. It's gonna sliver. If you don't make the undercut, you have to do two-step cuts all the time. But a fast cut with a saw with the right amount of power that has the RPMs to be able to turn it and make that cut is a must. You have to have that. But I would make fast cuts straight up and straight down. I had peel out all the time. It would work perfect a lot of times. Other times, it would just peel. Or it would hold on and start to go way before I was ready. You know, it would start to flex and bend over. And that's not what I want when I want a fast cut. A lot of times I'm looking to just take this weight, and I don't want, like if I'm got a rope here from there and it goes up, I don't want this moving at all. I don't want any of this region to move at all. Let's say there's a house right there. With a big piece of wood in it, okay? There's a house with a big piece of wood. So, I cannot let this thing move. But, what I could do is use this butt weight and let that butt weight, if I took it and it was just sitting there and I threw it, what's this thing gonna do? It's just gonna stand up. Well, it's not technically gonna stand up. It's gonna go in, and the butt weight's gonna be way down here. So it's gonna be like, so if you could see the other one, after it's done, that's where it's gonna be at. This limb, if you can make your fast cut here, the way I was saying, this limb and your rigging points there, as it swings in, it should end up with the butt all the way at the ground. And this starts to work its way down a little, but you keep all that height. What happens is the butt weight pulls it and then it comes in. And that's how you can miss structures and stuff like that, by using the fast cut and the tip tie. Or sometimes you can try to swing or whatever, but a lot of times just dropping and using the butt weight of the piece to lift the tips it's a trick that I've really started to use a lot more often. It's quick and just very effective. So, question, like, did that little explanation of how I do the fast cut, did that make any sense? Did it make any more sense than what I was saying before? Oh, thanks, Dan. I kind of would have catalpa for the first time ever this year. Yeah, catalpas are wild. They got that weird twisty bean on them. John, what's up, brother? Well, John, you may get a kick out of the what we did for a live feed. I just did like a rigging demonstration, a little mini demo with like with a, I don't know, you have to see it. I just explained some rigging techniques. I found my little demo ring things that I made so I could set them up and talk about how you can strengthen a rigging setup and stuff like that. Stuff I've probably said before. But don't worry, brother, you're good. I see that husky in the corner. No, there's nothing in the corner. That is the rope. The rope. There's a windshield to my bike and the big shot. I wouldn't have a husky in here. If you ever see one, don't talk about it. John Bob. Yeah, see? That's another point, ground pounder. When you're making that snap cut, you're forced to make another cut too. You're making two cuts. I'm making one. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, if it's something that you don't, I definitely don't use that all the time. But it's something I have started using even more, and it saves me a lot of time. Like, it's so nice to make that one cut, watch the rig, and put my saw up and just wait. Or be able to get to the next spot instead of making the cut, making sure that the limb gets all the way down. Then look, oh, fire my saw back up and make another cut off of the piece because I had to make a snap cut. If you could fall logs and just make a single cut and not have to recut the stump, you would. I mean, I would. I can't talk for anybody else, but I would. But you can't. You gotta notch them, send them over. Then you gotta cut the stump again because you got little friggle things sticking up, the hinge toothpicks or whatever. I don't even know. Building saws seems easy compared to this. Oh no. Am I still way behind? You guys are so fast at typing. I get behind so easy. I have several kids for some. You're crazy, John. Undercut on prunes is more predictable. Yeah. I mean, definitely, definitely. Like I was saying, that's insurance. If you're not 100% for sure to make that fast cut. If it's not made right, that's what we were talking about. You get a peel, a barber chair, it could leave a huge wound down it. So probably not probably not the right idea. But a snap cut for those situations where I was talking about, like the one that I used where I needed to stand the limb up and it couldn't go down then, a snap cut. I don't know that it would have worked there because as soon as some movement started to happen, because the line was so far out, as soon as some movement started to happen, it would have swung one direction or the other. Guaranteed. And I don't think I would have got the butt weight to drop out the way I wanted. So the fast cut guarantees that butt weight says and shoots down. I just don't know that I would have guaranteed it. I think August. I just seen a video where he even was trying to use that same one of his newer ones. He was trying to use that same technique, and he was gonna get stuck in a catalpa tree, which is crazy because I've never heard him even talk about a catalpa tree. But there's a little catalpa tree next to it, and as he was rigging, he couldn't swing it, so he needed to drop it off and have it swing back in. That would have worked, but the snap cut I feel like prevented that from working and started. It gave it some movement. After you add movement into the system, when you need it to do a full dropout, go down, you've lost control. Then the ground guy was just realized, oh, we're starting to move. He let it out some and let it go down, which worked, and it ended up working out okay. But I've used the snap cut in those situations where I wanted to do that, and it didn't work right for me. So that's the reason. I just don't know that. I'm acting like it's a very important technique. Maybe other people won't find themselves in that situation where they're going to need it. But it saved me multiple times already. But you know when you learn a technique, you kind of take another technique and put it back in your toolbox and you don't use it. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe since I've learned it, I kind of the techniques I would have used before I've kind of put away and I don't use as much, and now I'm very fond of this one. Who knows? Maybe I don't know. I really don't know. I use snap cuts all the time, but the fast cut is something that I use a lot, and I think the fast cut is something that I see being done wrong. Well, not wrong, just it could be done better. I don't know if I've heard it explained correctly with that, and I don't think I explained it correctly totally. Like I know what I want to say, but I don't know if I'm articulating that. I probably not, but I'm a hillbilly. All I can do is try. A house with a big piece of wood. Uh, can't back a trailer. Your rigging demo was good. Okay, right on. Yeah, I know it definitely wasn't. I should have brought it in here. I should have done it in here. It's just literally, I was just gonna talk to you guys the whole time, and then like right at the last, I was doing some cleaning out here, and I found those rings. I'm like, dude, just do a rigging demo. That's like funner for most people. Maybe somebody learned some. And I'm like, oh, talk about the fast cuts and that technique where you drop the bottom out. You know what? That's the trap door cut, where you call it the trap door, where you got a limb and the tips are out. Or let's say this is the trunk and this is the tips. So if you make the cut and it does this, like the butt way it pulls it out and it rigs because you have a rope going like this, trap door. I guess if you name it, you own it. Yeah, safe is definitely what counts at the end of the day, and doing the job right, Dan. Like you not taking the risk of that peel happening, maybe it comes back and bites me in the ass. Maybe I should always be making those snap cuts. After I figured it out, and like I didn't just figure it out here, like I used it, and I'm like, oh my, oh that makes more sense. Oh, that's working. Like then I felt like I got it figured out. But even just thinking about it, I'm like, maybe that works. But I don't know until I try it. And so I tried it and tried it and tried it, and it's definitely helped me. But there's always that chance because I'm doing what I do that I could end up with a peel out where maybe you wouldn't. But that technique isn't only going to be for pruning. It's like I was saying, the trap door where you're looking to not let the tip come down and you want to swing it back in. That could be used in rigging often, especially when you got a structure under you. Bacon and eggs, ass lemon eggs. Oh man. You just be real, bro. Almost time for me to drive to Montana. Ooh, what are you going to Montana for? We have one here in Missouri, like Montauk or something. I think it's called Montauk or something. What did you just say that was? Marquette. Oh, I thought you said. I thought you put Montauk down. Holy shit. Yeah, I think ours is called Montauk, and there's like a trout stream, and you can go there. And like I remember walking it, and there would be hundreds of people in this little creek, and like everyone was kind of following this one trout that was like it was enormous. It didn't even make any sense compared to all the rest of them. But yeah, you'd see guys catch one every once in a while, but it's a big deal around here. I've only been one time. Thanks, Dan. I'm gonna have to start calling you DK. Yeah, old DK. Dan Kodos. Because Dan the tree man done took the word, or the name Dan. I'll call you DK. Yeah, John, you seem like you do kind of enjoy that aspect of it. Like, the knowledge of like I don't even know sometimes it's not even knowledge. If something interests me, and I don't fully understand it and comprehend it, I will watch and learn about it because sometimes I just want to understand. I don't want to have the knowledge to reuse it or anything. Sometimes I just want to understand something. So I think you don't have to be a tree guy that's like always going out and he's going to use everything that I say and all everything you watch you got to go to. Sometimes it's just good to kind of understand it instead of being stuck in a situation and not really getting it and understanding it fully. So you're forced to make some educated guesses. So, like I mean, hell, I just had a guy who's been, I think he started doing YouTube like when YouTube started. He just left a very ignorant comment. And GP, I don't know how to say it. Like, okay, you deal with trolls, like it's aggravating. Like, dude, I have a very large amount of trolls. I think I have blocked. I don't know if I've ever blocked anybody, honestly. I think that Brian Kennedy kid, I don't think I blocked him, even. And he was talking about like raping people and all kinds of silly shit. Like, he's crazy. But yeah, I didn't. Like, sometimes I'm a nice guy, and I think a lot of people see the nice thing and they're like, oh, they gotta learn me something. Like, no, I'm nice because I want to be nice. I want to be a good guy. I want to help people. But don't get it twisted. I'm a dickhead at the same time. You cross me once, that's it. That's all you need to do. You need to cross me once and get me good and pissed, and then I'll write you off. You just kind of join the list, and I'm done with you. I don't really talk back to the trolling often. So if I do, a lot of times it's because I kind of like the person and want them to realize, like, oh, no, 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 I think you're barking up the wrong tree. You're looking to, like, boost your ego for a second and pat yourself on the back at the expense of stepping on me. But no, no, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm a jerk. Ask my wife. Ask anybody. Ask anybody that's ever worked with me. I'm a nice guy because I want to be. But I can be the biggest jerk that there is if I'm forced to be. So I deal with a lot of trolling that I say nothing about. Usually, if I post something on someone trolling me and I'm kind of poking at them, it's a regular. It's someone that you guys know. Like, so the stuff that you guys don't see, you have no clue. Like, there's a guy, like, I'm not even going to say his name because I don't want to get into it. But this guy, I think, started making YouTube videos when YouTube started. He was one of the first guys ever making tree videos. And he just, like, he's seen many of my videos. He's left many comments. But he must have had something going on this exact day. And he took one of the videos where I have spikes on because I am doing a large lead and removing it. Now, those videos, usually I will show the majority of the video because if not, I'm accused of gaffing the hell out of the tree on the way up. No, just because I have spikes on. If I'm going to take a large section of that tree out, why can't I be comfortable when I'm removing? Is it okay for me to spike something if I'm about to cut it off? Yeah, 100%. So if I've got to do this big long limb walk, you just want me to suffer. You just want me to go at it just straight boots and not have the ability to kind of sidewalk or put that leverage and feel safe and everything because you don't. Not because I'm doing anything that could possibly hurt that tree. I have multiple limb walking setups and rope walking setups, ascending setups. I have many of them that can be used with spikes on. So I'll set a line. I will rope walk or do the gree sit stand all the way to the top. Set a rigging thing. Lower myself down. Get on the limb. 9 times out of 10, I may not even use those spikes. I'll walk myself out there. But if I'm taking this large lead off and I'm going to be forced to do a very long limb walk, I'm going to take the damn spikes. I'm looking to make things easy on me. I don't care what is more appeasing to like the viewer as far as, oh, he did something I heard you're not supposed to do. No, 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 no. You heard, don't spike something that is gonna stay there. So if you're pruning the whole tree, don't spike the trunk all up and the limbs that are gonna be left. But if you're got a tree like this, it's got a large limb right here. You can't spike that limb right here. Why? Why can't you do that? Because it makes it too comfortable and too easy on me? Drawing conclusions because you see somebody that's got, oh my, he's got spikes on, or oh my, he used one hand to make a cut. That doesn't mean he only uses one hand. Maybe in that scenario he needed to use one hand. There's no reason to draw a conclusion from, especially from, it's more like mind blowing to me when it's done from a YouTube short. That's 1 minute. 1 minute of an entire tree. You see 1 minute. And in that 1 minute, you've drawn up a story that I spiked the hell out of the tree. By the way, I don't know about y'all, but I use pole gaps. They're this big. 2 inches? 3 inches at the most? Tree spikes are like this. I slip out nonstop when I'm doing removals because of the fact I use pole gaps, and I like a very very small gap. I want a gap that when I'm walking, the spike doesn't touch the ground. I want it up here. I'm gonna do what makes it comfortable for me, but it's almost like it's a bit depressing to see a man who has been in this industry for a very long time is somewhat he's respected. I respect him, even though he made an ignorant ass comment, and draws some crazy conclusion. He makes up a story in his head about how I'm spiking a prune and I'm doing all this bad stuff to it. Get out of here, man. What it is you used to do this, and I'm not even saying this is a bad thing, because eventually I'm gonna be in your situation. So this part that I'm saying right now is specifically to one person, and anyone else that feels the need to just pat themselves on the back and show their amazing knowledge when it's not needed in the hopes that you degrade somebody else. What's happened is your life's not working out right at the point, at like this exact moment. Maybe you got too old. Because when I was watching you from the get-go, you were probably my age, if probably older than me. Then you had 20 plus years. So you may not be able to do this anymore. So in your imaginations, you need to relive your glory days and spend your time rolling around on YouTube like the PPE police, letting people know that they're doing it wrong. And if your legs worked, you'd do it better. Get out of here, man. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like, I could be a great ally to everybody, or I just don't want nothing to do with you. I'm good with nothing, man. I got a channel that I'll put a video out, it'll get thousands of views. I'll put a video out that I feel is like twice, it's like 2 or 3 times better than the one that got thousands of views, and it may get a couple hundred. My stuff gets thrown and looked over non-stop. I've found a way to just start. I'm making it for me, man, and those people that enjoy it. So if you don't enjoy it, it's not a big deal. But you don't need to. You don't need to teach me nothing. If you want to teach me something, make a video. Show me something. Show me something. I want to learn something. So I mean, even with your rude comment, you still have a ton of knowledge up here, and I know this. Make a video. Teach me something. Because I ain't learned nothing from your comment that you left. It didn't do me any good. It aggravated me and made me think you're insecure and a bit of a dick. So, you know who you are. And that's it. I don't want to get into it no more. I've said my piece. John says, built a 440 farm tech that stomps my 441 Oh, wow. That's awesome. My brother was just talking about he got a little Neo tech. So I'm curious what he got. I told him he should have got a Noker. Oh, ground pounder. I was just going to ask you about that because I was talking to my dad about it. I was like, dude, we're both pussies. That's what I was telling my dad. I was like, my buddy GP, he just like went on a camping trip and ran out of smokes and was like, yo, I'm done smoking. That's awesome. So now I was like, you know what? Well, I don't know. Maybe he's back to smoking. Let me ask him before I start calling myself all kinds of names. So, dude, I totally get it. It is so tough. Um, Probably one of the hardest things I ever do in life. I want a clone 200T built up. Yeah, you should do it, man. That sounds like a fun project. I've seen some of them clones that they can be cleaned up. They can work real well. I think they need to be gone through and maybe a few more like higher performance parts put onto them. And yeah, 2 weeks. Hell yeah, ground pounder. There are a few people I cross paths with. Might be missing. Had someone say, well, don't know it's hurt the tree to my spike. Yeah, I mean, they do. They leave big wounds on the tree, but I mean, if I'm removing the tree, it doesn't matter. Like, you shouldn't wear spikes on something that you're just pruning and it's going to be there. Like, but I get those guys that this is a hard one because in my area, I'm giving and doing something that no other guys are doing. No one else cares. So they're all going to spike the hell out of it. So maybe that's why I found myself finding that middle ground where I'm putting the spikes on because I'm taking a large section. Because when I'm doing that section, I want to be comfortable. Because I'm not, that's when it comes down to your standards and your own morals to not spike the tree any other time than when you go on the piece that you're removing. That's where I feel like if I just went up there, I'm doing something that no other guys are doing, and no one in my town gives a damn about. They don't care. I'm like, well, I offer, you shouldn't use spikes when you climb. No one cares. They're like, oh, why would you not use spikes? Isn't that what holds you in there? So I get those guys that don't care and they just, or maybe they do care, but spikeless stuff is very difficult. It's very hard. Um, it's hard to learn. So when I get the opportunity, especially, it's usually when I'm taking a large lead off, I'm gonna wear spikes. That's just stupid not to, in my opinion. I was the tree. I just said, well, uh, it's gonna be difficult, but I have a criticism. Well, I'll be the first to admit. Yeah, I'm not. I think I handle it pretty well, and I'll even give you multiple shots. Like, you know, you seen how I handled the turtle head. You know, I need to kind of make my point. Like, dude, don't, because like, don't say nothing stupid because I don't know. This is the way I see it. Like, if I wouldn't say nothing to a man on the internet, that I would say straight to his face when I stand next to him or looking at him. I just feel like it makes you somewhat of a coward when you do stuff like that. Just because they can't technically get to you right then, don't mean you guys don't bump into each other one day. And I just don't like having enemies. You know, if someone has an issue, I say let's just roll out back. I'm good to fist fight for a little while. Kind of always enjoyed that kind of stuff. I have a daughter. I'm almost 40. Like, eventually you gotta stop. But I do welcome that at any given moment. Like, I'm that cat that is the nicest guy you're ever gonna meet. It feels weird to say that about yourself, but like, I love helping people. I do. But at the same time, I am that dude that you just like, whoa, he's a bit of a psycho. It just takes me a lot to get to that point. And I don't get the trolling thing. I just really don't. You guys are funny. All trees, all seasons. What's up, man? Who's he mad at? Oh no, just a random. Well, not a random. It's a guy that's is a very he has a way larger following than me. Like, I think quite a bit larger than me, like a lot. And just I don't want to get back into it. I just needed to talk to him. That way, when he watched, like, I know you think you were maybe doing some good, but you weren't. So maybe I'm just a nerd, but I enjoy learning new stuff. Hey, I see that's the stuff I like talking about too. So I'm glad you enjoy it, John. I really makes it worth making. Holy cow, we're at an hour and 44 minutes. Guys, I'm holy no way. Really? Yeah, I gotta cut this off. Nobody's gonna watch all this video, and I don't blame them. Well, I'll have a video for you guys very, very soon. I will try to get it out maybe. Let's see. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, Thursday. I'm gonna give you the rigging and stuff from that tree that we got started on. Got our whole rigging. We talked about it. We'll get it set up. We had just started cutting, doing a bit of free cutting, and then we had to cut the video off. We'll pick it up right from there. And there was some fun rigging in this video, and hopefully some good footage. I don't even know anymore. Like, all the stuff you guys see is like I don't even remember half of it. So it's some of it's from so long ago, and I can't keep up with the editing anymore. I'm trying. I'm getting old. But see ya. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it as always. You guys are the best. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for supporting me. I appreciate you. And I'll catch you soon. Stay safe.